Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Eternal Insiders podcast. With me, as always, is Cam O'Neill, and today we're joined by Myles Simpson, former Eternal Featherweight champion. Myles, thanks for joining us.
No worries, thanks for having me.
G'day, Myles. Taking advantage of these isolation days at home with the filthy mo.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do except grow this bad boy day by day.
You've been very successful. It's looking fabulous.
Yeah, will you keep it, you reckon?
Until I go back to work was the original goal, but I don't know, I might keep it for a bit longer now. It's my first ever moustache. I'm attached. Can't just let it go.
You can change M16 to handlebars, and then we've got got a serious nickname there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting this and then growing a mullet and trying to be the next Jack Hayes.
No, you certainly need the mullet back up as well.
Mine would be old and grey.
Take you a while to catch up with Jack, I reckon.
So just talk us a little bit through how this weird isolation period has been for you, obviously as a gym owner, you know, and a fighter as well. How have you coped? How have you managed?
It's been a bit stressful at the start, to be honest, not really knowing what was going to happen. And like at the start, especially before we shut down, we were trying to open each day by day, changing what we could do, changing classes, less people in the gym, bigger breaks between classes and stuff. But once we actually got shut down, it was almost a relief in some ways to know that we didn't have to keep putting any protocols in and doing things until the day that we could actually open back up and run again. But for me, I haven't been doing any online stuff with my people from the gym. I've been posting like a lot of videos. I watch training videos, fights, like highlight clips of fighters I like and stuff, so people can still watch it. But in terms of training, I've just been telling people just to do their own thing in the meantime.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I have had an online program. I've noticed that it started off really well. Like, had lots of people taking us up on it, and as the time's gone on, the numbers have got less and less and less. So for me, I don't know what the deal is in South Australia at the moment, but here we're back to 20 people in the gyms as of Monday. So it's the perfect timing for me, really, because we were getting down to some pretty small numbers in our online classes.
Yeah, we're about 3 weeks behind you with what we can do. Like that, we're opening up to the 20 people per gym on June the 8th. Hopefully sooner if it goes well for you guys, but at the moment we can't do that till June the 8th. So just this last week, I started running some outdoor boot camps. So we can have up to 10 people. So I did like a fitness circuit one night and then a boxing another night. But it's just not the same. Everyone just wants their routine back and wants their regular training back.
Sure. Yeah, we've just transitioned through that. So we did the 10 people. Luckily enough, I've got a big car park and some outdoor space at the gym. So we've been having people outside get the jiu-jitsu mats out. So they've all got their own little area. And yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but it was, people were just happy to be back in a group again as opposed to being online. And then fortunately, I think we ran that for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And now we're into this in the gym stuff, which is going to be good.
Yeah, fingers crossed. If it does well for you, surely our government, state government will follow pretty closely behind. So we've only had one case, I think, in the last 21 days, and we've got 0 active cases. So surely we should be loosening some restrictions real soon.
Yeah, sounds like you guys are in a pretty good spot. Cam, what's the update up there in Queensland? How's it all travelling?
Still fucked. No, restrictions are starting to ease as of today. In general, we're getting 10 people into restaurants. We're getting people able to train outside in outside spaces at gyms. I think it's up to 20 people in an outside place at a gym, i.e. car park or at a park. But no, it's very slow. I don't think we're going to review it again until the 12th of next month. So yeah, it's a slow process, but we're going to get there. Very frustrating.
Yeah.
I think we're past the worst of it. I definitely think Western Australia is ahead of the curve just now in terms of getting people back into gyms and at the very least, doing drills and pads. I think we're a little bit further behind here in Queensland at the moment, and probably a little bit further behind again in South Australia. I think Victoria is probably the state that's lagging behind everybody at the moment. I don't think there's any.
They just had a bunch of cases again yesterday, like 20 cases or something.
I don't think there's any end in sight for them at the moment.
just count yourself lucky you're not in the States or in the UK. Yeah. But I mean, they've got to breaking point now. They've got to, like, people are like, well, fuck this, I just want to go out, so I'm going to go out. You know, I think a lot of people, and some states have opened up, and I think it's all a bit of a mess and a shambles over there. You know how the Americans love their freedom, so they're all on about their freedom at the moment. Whatever they perceive that to be. So I think people are starting to make the calls and over there off their own back, which is, I don't know. I don't want to get into a COVID debate because I don't really know where I sit on it.
It's crazy times, eh? Just no one knows what's going on.
Well, because
it's an unknown time.
Because I'm so far removed from it at the moment, obviously with Eternal, we're maybe 3 months further down the lines from gyms. We've got to get people back into the gyms first and foremost.
Yeah.
And not only just back into the gyms doing non-contact drills, realistically, we've got to have people wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu again before we can even think about, put cards together, whether it be localised or just, one's Gold Coast cards, Queensland fighters only, Perth cards, Western Australian fighters only. Before that conversation even starts, we've obviously got to have people, back to full training. And when that's not happening, I'm not really paying 100% attention to it at this moment in time. I'm not reading into the ins and outs of the easing of the restrictions until I see something that says, you know what, guys, the gyms are open again and we can get back to business.
And even with the shows open, like I said before, about maybe socially distancing in crowds and stuff, literally your crowd numbers will be half or even like a third of what you'd normally, without a good pay-per-view or online streaming setup. You'd think shows will struggle at the start. Is that?
I don't know. We could probably run a show in Adelaide that would be about fucking standard. But yeah, you're right. You are right.
Let's not pick and put Adelaide right at this moment.
I think Adelaide picks on us.
Myles is going through enough at the moment without
no, I think it does seem like it would be hard for shows to start back up, really, with if they're going to have, like, even if the crowds are only allowed like 100 or 500 maximum and you want to put on like a big show, it's going to surely make it hard.
We've had some conversations around it, and until we can have 500 people in a room, it's not really viable for us to do anything. So
I mean, we've got a slightly different model than most people in Australia, if not everybody in Australia. I mean, at the moment, and we don't want to change from that, the way that we stream the full undercard live and free via YouTube, so we don't have an income stream there on the undercard. Our income stream, obviously, on the main card is going through UFC Fight Pass and contracts that we already have. But being able to have the level of show that we need for that with 6 or 7 pro fights at the top end of the card, it's going to be difficult enough to do if we can't have interstate fighters anyway. But to be able to budget that properly around about 400 or 500 spectators and still have the same level of production, still have the same level of fight, it's a huge challenge, and whether or not we'll be able to do it, I'm not 100% sure.
Need about 50 tables sold, all spaced out around the arena.
Yeah.
No general admission, only tables and VIP.
We need that's it. In the card to get that amount of tables.
Yeah, that's a good segue into. Let's talk a little bit about your Eternal history. So obviously, you were once the Eternal Featherweight champ. Talk us through your road to getting there.
Who did I fight? My first fight with Eternal was with you guys over in Perth, I think, when we were still in the ring, when I fought Ryan Gray the first time at the old Italian club. Shit, that would have been like 2015, I think. And I was lucky enough in that one. And then I was supposed to fight Michael Tobin, but then I can't remember what happened there. I think he moved half a weight class down to bantamweight. I don't think he ever quite made it down there. But then he moved half a weight class down, so that fight never happened, unfortunately. And then me and Garrett Gross ended up fighting for the title up in Queensland at Southport Sharks, and then I beat him over 3 rounds, which was a good fun fight. And then didn't fight again for you guys for a little while, I think. And then Ryan come out and did Ryan knock out Garrett Gross? He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He had time off. Yeah. So he come back and knocked him out, and then we had the rematch in Adelaide, and he got me back. I think we had 2 fights that both went for what, less than a couple minutes each.
Yeah.
So we had a choke each way, and then so he got the belt, and then who did I fight the next one? You came back to Adelaide again. The next one,
Jacobson.
Yeah, then Brett Jacobson for some reason just decided that he wanted to fight whoever he needed to get a shot at the belt, and unfortunately he picked me and had a bad night in Adelaide. That was a good fun fight as well.
Yeah, that was a fantastic fun fight to watch. You know,
yeah, that was good.
And
I've never ever need someone in the head in the mid-fight and just had him go, yeah, that's the shit. Hasn't had another one. I was like, what the fuck's in your head, man? Like, what's it going to take to stop this guy? But no, that was good fun. And he's a really nice guy too as well. He's just loves to fight.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many times Brett's fought in Eternal. I think it must be around about double figures now.
I think you were saying that night it was his 10th.
Yeah, it must have been. So that's 3-1. You went 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1 over a few years. I think they had over maybe 3 or 4 years.
The more impressive thing is that we operate in 4 states, and you've fought in 3 of them. So when are you going to fight in Melbourne for us?
Maybe. I pretended I was retired, but I don't know if you can actually ever retire from this sport.
No, it's difficult.
Especially sitting at home thinking about fighting every day. It's like I feel like I should be fighting tomorrow. So
Mate, it never changes. I haven't fought since 2008 or 2007, and I still think about it every day. I'm not stupid enough to try and do it. I think I put a post on Instagram once about I put a picture of me in the cage and then getting the itch, and then I wrote at length, I'm not going to scratch it, but just. And then someone said, "Oh, you should fight Myles Simpson." I was like, "Fuck that."
Just throw my name in the hat, thanks.
What you done for the last one?
Yeah.
No, not for me. My fighting days are done,
You would never make featherweight either, Ben.
Not these days, no.
I don't know if I can make featherweight anymore either.
Me and Myles could fight at welterweight.
Yeah, it's about as close as I'll get.
You just can move up half a division.
It's hard. It's hard. Like there's a balance, especially running the gym. There's a balance between like I want to fight and do it, but I also need a coach and be there for the. Because I have so many young guys that are doing really good, and it's selfish for not just my gym but my family and stuff when I do fight. So I'd love to just be able to go, oh, fuck it, I'm going to fight in 6 weeks, but a lot has to get put on hold for me to make that 6-week fight camp. So I'll never say never, but at the moment it's not a high priority. Interestingly,
I actually cornered with your team when you won the belt. So
yeah,
I've been in your corner for a title fight and and against you for a title fight as well, which is quite interesting.
It's a funny sport like that.
Yeah, it is. It was. I was very honoured that day that it was obviously you were away from home and you only had one guy with you. So basically, I was a glorified bucket holder. But it was nice to be there, and we kind of got on from the day we met in Brisbane when you fought on Valor that time. When Ryan fought, we always kind of had a feeling that our paths would cross further down the track after that night. Who did you fight that night?
John Bradley. He rocked up heavy to the weigh-in, rocked up, 20 minutes before the fight was about to start on fight night.
Was that the night you done the speech?
No, that was in the tournament. That was in the tournament in Tasmania.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. It was in Tasmania. He did the bloody hour-long speech.
Yeah.
No, but he rocked up. He literally rocked up like 20 minutes. I was still at the back warming up, and they're coming out to me every fight. Jai's not here yet, but don't worry, he's going to be here. I'm like, well, fucking we're fighting soon, eh? And then he did rocked up like 10 or 15 minutes before or whatever. Come out, had the fight. Had the most intense walkout to the ring I've ever seen in my life. And then it was over and he went back to his change room.
Yeah. Jai, it's nice that you got to fight Jai. Jai's a legend,
Yeah, he is.
You never quite know what you're going to get.
It was just a surreal experience. Everything about it, crazy.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Jai, and I've obviously spent a bit of time in the gym with him. I've spent a bit of time at shows with him, etc. But I'll never forget when he came down to Adelaide with us to fight against Tony Caruso, and one of the walks that we had from dinner after the weigh-ins back to the hotel, he was so animated and he was in such good form, telling stories, and Yeah, the guy's a character. There's not many people like him in Australian
Nice.
MMA.
Everyone been around forever. He's a fucking OG.
Yes, that is for sure.
Yeah,
that is for sure. And then also, you've also helped us out a lot with Eternal down in Adelaide, which we appreciate. How did you find that? Like sort of flipping to helping making matches, and is that something you see yourself doing in the future, or?
Yeah, for sure. It was good fun. Although it was a little bit hard to get some gyms on board, but generally, like, it was good. And I try and follow the scene as much as I can, so I'll have a good idea of like what gyms are around, what fighters are around. So if my guys get matched up for them, so it didn't seem like it was a stretch trying to do what I was doing. But yeah, definitely in the future I could see myself doing that. I don't know if I could ever put on a promoter's hat and run a show. I've seen the stress that goes into that, but definitely matchmaking and helping out a bit around the place is something I enjoy doing.
Matchmaking is probably the most rewarding part of the job.
Yeah.
I mean, being able to match a fight that you want to see and then sit down and watch it, a meet up in the cage is, that's the fun part. Do you agree, Ben?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I'd say pull-outs would end me. I'd do one show, have as many pull-outs as what you guys get, and I'd be like, nah, I'm done. See ya.
You just get used to it. You kind of expect it. Like, I don't know about Cam, because we've never really discussed it in detail like this, but if we haven't had a pull-out with a couple of weeks to go, I start to get super nervous that we're going to get a bunch, like, all at once. One pull-out is easy enough to deal with. Yeah, but two or three pull-outs 2 weeks out or a week out or 10 days out is difficult, especially with the logistics in this country of moving people around. Like, you've got to book flights, you've got to book accommodation. It's not like a case of, like in the UK, I keep harping back to fight promotion in the UK is so easy because you jump in a car and you drive. Not easy. I shouldn't use the word easy because promoting a fight show is never easy, but you jump in your car and you go, yeah, I'll give you £100 for your petrol. It's not like booking a $800 flight for two people.
Yeah, it's from one side of this country to the other. It's not a cheap flight to go from Brisbane to Perth and so on.
And not only that, based upon the time frame as well, you've got the issue that registering with the proper Combat Sports Commission as well, and making sure that your bloods and your medicals are up to date. And when you're dealing with Combat Sports Commissions like we do in Western Australia and in Victoria, sometimes it's just not possible to rematch fights when you get into the last week. There's just no chance of it happening.
Yeah.
South Australia under Tommy Hunter, he was always very accommodating and helped us out as much as we can. But Tommy's moved on now as well, so I don't know.
He retired, and what's taken over from him is an absolute shit show. It's a board now. There's a group of people, nobody knows who they are, and they're impossible to get in touch with. They were getting. I think we only had one show with them without Tommy Hunter before all this kicked in. But yeah, it was a lot of back and forth and messing around. So it'd be interesting to see how they go after all this is done. But we were blessed to have Tommy.
Yeah, Tom's a great guy, and he wanted shows to go ahead. Like sometimes you get feelings from commissions that they want to stop things happening. Tom seemed to me to have the reverse attitude, that he wanted to push things forward and make things happen. Which was refreshing. It's a massive shame. It's a massive shame that Adelaide, for us, is so hard to operate in, like, for many ways. And we're not going to go into that today because it's not what today's about. But I would like to go to Adelaide and put on fight shows a couple of times a year to give the fighters what they deserve down there. But it's just not viable for us at the moment, for many reasons, which is really unfortunate.
Fingers crossed. We're getting the thing that we're getting in Adelaide more now that we haven't had in the last few years is like a little bit of depth in the gyms. All the gyms have always had like a couple of fighters that were a bit more experienced, but now we're getting a lot more like first timers. So I'm hoping within a year or two we will be able to sustain more shows down here for sure. But at the moment, there's just not quite enough fighters. Everyone wants to do it, but no one ever puts their hand up to actually jump in the ring and do it.
Yeah, definitely. Talk to us a little bit about your transition from a successful Thai boxing career into the MMA career and a successful MMA career. Like, how did that come about? What made you want to do that? And and what were the biggest challenges?
I was training Muay Thai at a gym that had a couple of MMA fighters. They didn't do MMA classes, but Kim Robertson was always training in the same facility. So I sort of always knew of him and was doing a bit of cross training with some of his guys and stuff, but I never trained MMA as such. And then, started getting into it a little bit more, started watching a lot more UFC, obviously. And then we didn't have the cage here, and that was the biggest killer. I was like, I don't want to train a sport, put all this effort in, and then maybe not even get fights interstate. Just seemed to me pointless when I could get on a Muay Thai show every 4 or 6 weeks or whatever. So that's how I sort of started, just doing a little bit of cross training with those guys and whatnot. And then I reckon around 2012, I was just sick of Muay Thai, and that's when I was talking about bringing the cage into Adelaide, so I started training it. And then I was struggling to get fights interstate for MMA. So I took a Thai boxing fight, pretty much training solely MMA, and ended up smashing my foot to pieces, just ripped off. And sat down, and then that was the end of my Thai boxing career. After that, I just went, all right, no, it's MMA or nothing. And then luckily, by the time I rehabbed, got back in the gym, started training, they'd passed the cage over, so I was able to have my debut in Adelaide for MMA. So that was around like 2012, 2013. I made the switch. But yeah, I would have made it earlier, but it was super hard. I think to get matches because they thought because I'd had so many Muay Thai fights. That I was going to be really good at like Muay Thai and MMA, so a lot of guys wouldn't take the fight. And then when I finally got one, they realised my Muay Thai sucked in MMA. So it was easy to get matchups after that.
I find Muay Thai is one of the hardest styles to turn over to MMA.
Yeah.
Just because the setup is so different to how you want to be for an MMA fight. The techniques are all very valid, but you have to start learning to throw them in a different way from a different starting point. Obviously, from that transition from world-class Muay Thai fighter, Muay Thai is very much a you go, I go, like, you're going to damage me, I'm going to damage you. Tough man competition. And for me, it's the hardest combat sport in terms of physical attrition. Like, you walk out of a Thai fight more damaged a lot of the time than you would an MMA fight, especially in terms of not being able to walk the next day because of your legs and stuff like that. So yeah, it's tricky because you think, you just learn to wrestle, but it's not like that, is it?
It's completely different now. But the good thing is I like the clinch in Muay Thai. I think that helped me a lot. Like, I've always felt really comfortable in the cage and the clinch for MMA. That's where my Muay Thai adapted really well. But for stand-up, not really that good at all, because a good wrestler with an overhand right can pretty much even the stand-up with one swing. But a Muay Thai guy with a decent clinch isn't going to, that's not going to help me on the ground once I've been taken down. Yeah. So I think it's a lot easier to bridge the gap from a wrestler to a striker than it is from a striker to a wrestler. That's been my experience. And ever since I started doing MMA, also, just because you do the same thing in Muay Thai, it's just like pad work, sparring, clinching. When I started doing MMA and I started doing jiu-jitsu and wrestling, it kind of changed the way I wanted to fight anyway, because I'm like, if I'm going to go out there and just fight Muay Thai, I'll just fucking go back to Muay Thai. There's no point in me just wanting to stand in the middle of the cage and have a Muay Thai fight with little gloves. Why don't I just do Muay Thai? So I actually enjoyed the wrestling, especially the jiu-jitsu and stuff. So I pretty much just changed the way I fight to be a lot more well-rounded, and I enjoy grappling. So I just like taking people down and doing the whole MMA thing rather than just standing and banging.
Yeah, nice. What was I about to say? I had a question on the tip of my tongue and it's deserted me. Oh yeah, I was going to ask about, so how old's your son now?
Good question. 2.5. And I actually have another one on the way.
Oh, congratulations. Ed, breaking news.
Yeah, due in August. So hopefully all this COVID shit's well and truly behind me by then.
Hey, that's not far away, is it?
14 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I've got a 7-month-old, so I've just had another child as well. And yeah, man, it's
you can give me some as you're a little bit in front of me.
May just run away. It's hard work. It's hard work.
It's already hard with one. At least I'm glad that this has happened while I only had one, because if we had this one and the baby in the house for the last 8 weeks, I probably would have gone crazy.
Yeah, you go so crazy. The question I was going to ask you was how how did you find, like, obviously we've all three of us have been through it, and everyone else out there who's got children will understand how life changes when you have a child. How hard is it to be a fighter and have a newborn baby in the house, and, you know, managing all those extra responsibilities? Did you?
Correct. It's completely different. It just changes everything. Your sleep, your downtime doesn't exist. Your downtime from training and your relaxing time becomes your parenting time. So there's no downtime at all, where you just can take that time to yourself and relax. And I guess it changes your mindset a little bit as well, because you can't just be like, I'll go out there and die in the cage. It's just me. You know, you've got a family and a kid now to think about. So it definitely changes your mindset and your training regime a lot.
Yeah, some fighters like use that as their motivation. You know, it's like, oh, my son, I'm five. Like Cerrone, when he had that second coming, he had his son, and he you know, but and it'll be different for everyone. But I just think it's interesting for people to know, like, if you're a fighter out there and you don't have a child, just how difficult it is. I mean, I did it. I don't fight anymore, but obviously I've been through the same sort of things, because I do training camps with the boys, and my work rate and the time I need to spend in the gym is more when fights are on, because I need to spend more time working with the lads. And obviously, like you say, you come home and it's not, oh, I'm knackered, I've had a big day. It's often, there you go, there's your kid. I'm having a break.
You get a switch off.
I'm going for a shower like your wife. What you don't realise, and what isolation's really taught me, is how much of a full-time job it actually is. Like, when you're out at work, you don't realise what they're putting up with at home. And
you always joke about being a stay-at-home dad, and now I'm just like, that's not funny at all. Send me back to work.
It should be off the table as a joking scenario, I think, as that stay-at-home dad moniker.
Yeah, I reckon it's changed a lot of people's views being stuck at home for the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think women. I mean, I've always been mindful of the fact that it's a hard and dynamic job, and you should be grateful. And you know, sometimes you come home and the house is a mess and blah blah, and you think, oh, fucking, I wish you've been doing all day. You'd never say that out loud.
You think that's not something you ever say.
Yeah, but then having seen what a day is like, and, you know, there's been a couple of days where she's given me a couple of things to do, and she's gone out and she comes home and they're not done. Do you know what I mean? Because I just didn't have a fucking chance, because one's crying, the other one's whinging because she wants to watch this and the internet's not working. And I just get it a bit more now. Like, it makes me...
You're not selling me this second kid very well right now. I'm going to go out for a pack of smokes in a minute.
It's all just
do that.
A vague memory.
Never come back.
It's all just a vague memory to me.
Yeah, your kids are growing up now. They're looking after you.
That's the dream. When I look back on it as a vague memory.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely something that fighters should think about. I know Josh Della, for his last fight, had a child and one on the way, I believe, and it just changes the way that you know. One, it's not necessarily like you're not going to be able to train, but you almost feel guilty about training, because you feel like you're going to get a bit of stick at home when you're in the gym a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
Just the way it is. So, and you just got to manage that. And for, you know, young fighters, that's tough to manage. So I just think it's something people need to take into, to have some insight on, because I bet you didn't think too much about it before it happened. And then the next thing you know, you're like, oh, can I do this at the same level that I was before?
Well,
it's fine if you've got...
in the same year in the gym, and then I had the kid in the same year, and that was like a massive eye opener. Even just open. Speaking of kids, here comes a kid now. I had opened the gym, and then 8 months later, I had the baby. So then that was a massive eye opener. Going, oh shit, it's hard to run a gym and train and fight, and then have fighters. And it's like, all right, now we've got a kid as well, and that was made it a lot different again. It wasn't until a bunch of better coaches come in and helped me, you know, started being able to afford to bring in jiu-jitsu coach and stuff like that to teach, that it took some of my workload away, that then I could go, right now I can train at these times, and it didn't affect me as much. But at the start, when I was doing it all and had the baby, it was not a fun time.
You've recently expanded the gym as well. Was that maybe a year ago now?
Yeah, so we had like a second room open up. It was run by they were doing like a fitness thing. They're friends of mine. They had like a massage room and a fitness thing, so that's still going. But we're about to take over that space and put mats down and share it a bit more, because we weren't using it much. But now we're going to have Matt Sounds. That'll give us a second room now. So we're going to look at running like a lot more beginners and a few more classes and stuff. So
Awesome.
That'll be happening on the other side of this COVID stuff, which will
stuff.
hopefully help us as well. Because if we're only allowed 20 people per space, hopefully having the 2 different rooms, we can try and bend the rules a little bit and have, because it's they're separated by a door, so we can lock that door and just act like we're 2 separate businesses. Have 20 on one side, 20 on the other side, and they'll never cross over.
You've not thought at all, would you?
Yeah, I'll just, if that's what I have to do to get him in the gym, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is better with more space for sure.
Talk to us a little bit about the gym. Like, for those that are listening that don't know, obviously you got M16 in Seaford, is it?
Yeah, Seaford, South Australia.
And when did you start?
I think 2017 we opened. So we've been open just over 3 years now. And we started with just pretty much basic, a little bit of jiu-jitsu, mainly Muay Thai that I had the most students cross over from, and a little bit of MMA. And now we're pretty much, I'd say our jiu-jitsu is probably our biggest. MMA and Muay Thai about on par for fighters. Muay Thai is still the busiest classes, but in terms of like competition and athletes, I think MMA is probably slowly passing it by at the moment. But then jiu-jitsu we get the most because it's the easiest thing to enter into competitions, I think.
And who's running your jiu-jitsu program?
At the moment we got 2 coaches. We've got Adam Jones. So Adam Jones will coach a couple nights, and we have a black belt, Declan Moody, who's really good as well. So we got those 2 guys running at the moment, and then I take the classes when I need to as well. And just this last year we sort of affiliated under Adam's brother Craig, which gave us a bit more freedom in what we were doing, and we're going to try and really push the no-gi. So after COVID, we'll be a strictly no-gi only gym.
Nice.
Yeah, so COVID unfortunately ended the gi jiu-jitsu in my gym.
I know.
Isn't it?
Gi jiu-jitsu
is
such a popular class in most gyms up and down the country. Do you think that's going to have any effect on numbers, or do you just?
Nah, we literally because on a no-gi night we'll get anywhere between like 15 and 30 people to a class. On a gi night we'll get anywhere from 4 to 10. I have no idea why. It just never took off. When we first introduced it, we'd have like okay size classes, but it just never took off like no-gi. So we just from a business perspective, it just doesn't make sense to have the class anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
personally, I've definitely gravitated towards only wearing the gi, whereas for a long time I didn't want to wear it at all. But I think that's more to do with my age and size than anything else.
Yeah, you can slow the pace down a little bit.
Slow people down a little bit.
Yeah.
I 100%. I mean, we have the same issue. It's not an issue. It's fine, but we have predominantly our no-gi class is so busy. And then when we put the gi on, no one, because we're an MMA gym, that's why people associate the gi with sport jiu-jitsu. And my gym predominantly focuses on MMA. So that's why the no-gi classes are full to the brim. That is a big, that's a little dog. He's just close to the camera. But so I think that's what it is. It's like those guys that gravitate towards MMA, they don't want to put the gi on, the pajamas. I used to be the same way. I used to be the same way, but now I'm like Cam. I'm a bit older, and the scrambles don't suit me as much, so I gravitate towards the gi. So I tend to only roll gi now, unless I'm teaching MMA, or every now and again I'll jump in with guys like Marcus McKeevo, who's a phenomenal grappler who doesn't wear the gi. So if I get the chance to roll with him, I'll do it no gi.
Yeah, I think it's a similar reason with mine, because a lot of my most students came from Muay Thai, even the ones that do jiu-jitsu now, they all came from Muay Thai background. And usually when they finish their class and they see the no-gi guys warming up, they're like, I could just, throw a rash guard on and join in. But they see the gi guys and they're kind of like, what's that? What are they doing? So it's just a lot easier for them to transition between classes. I think anyway, I like the gi personally, I'd roll in it. But from a gym owner's perspective, if we're only getting 4 guys and I could have 20 or 25 guys on the mat, I have to look at that.
Yeah, no brainer.
Surely you'll start seeing a lot of people transitioning from just doing no-gi grappling into MMA as well.
Yeah, we have had a few. They start off and then they start doing a bit of wrestling, and then they're like, oh, maybe I'll try some MMA, but no, MMA is hard at my gym. I don't know why. I don't know what it's like at your gym, Ben, but like guys come and go. We have like a core group that's been there since the start, and they get better and better. But we have so many guys that they do a bit of MMA and then they just don't come back. We just struggle to get like depth on the mats.
Well, I think that's a compliment to you, because if you water down your MMA program, you'll get more people in it.
Yeah,
like, MMA is fucking hard, right? There's no two ways about it. You get put in bad positions, you get punched in the fucking face, you get jammed up against a cage. Like, I remember when I first started, I transitioned from boxing back in the early 2000s to start doing MMA. And there was only one MMA class a week at the gym that I was at. It was Jeet Kune Do gym. So we did a bit of everything. And one night was MMA. And they ended up canning the class because it was too hard. Like, the attendance just wasn't there, because you're casual who comes along and they've been to the rest of the week where it's bearable, and then you get an MMA class, and if the teacher isn't prepared to, what's the word, like tone it down a little bit,
and it's done how it should be done. You just get back. There's no other way to describe it, really. Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. Like, I think you're probably doing it right, which is why you have good fighters with solid fundamentals across the board, and tough, well-rounded guys, because you're teaching them right. But that's not going to appeal to everybody.
Yeah. I think because if you go to jiu-jitsu and you learn like a really cool technique, they teach you like a berimbolo or some sort of heel hook or arm bar. You go home, you're like, oh, wicked, I learned this arm bar. Or you do a cool combo in Muay Thai. In MMA, like, all right, tonight we're going to spend 45 minutes with one guy on the fence and the other guy's going to just hold you there and beat you up. You go home and you're like, I didn't fucking learn anything tonight. I just got grinded into the fence for an hour. That's not fun at all. Like, the technical side of it isn't always as pretty, but that's a whole technique in itself, is learn how to fight on the cage. Yeah. You can't go home and tell your mate, oh yeah, I learned to get bashed on the cage last night. It was heaps fun. You should come next week. I guess that's not a good selling point.
It's definitely a lower burn, especially compared to the examples you gave in jiu-jitsu. That's something that is very visual, and you can show off to people round about you and your friends and family. Look at what I've done. But some of the nuances of what you're probably trying to achieve there against the cage, even just, with head and wrist control, and, people are improving. But to somebody looking on from the outside, they would just look at you and say, you pay how much a week to do this, and you can't walk properly, and you're sore every single day. And
what's fun about that?
Yeah, what are you actually learning there?
It's like we are getting some depth, but it has taken a long time. Like, we've got maybe 5 fighters now and like another 5 in the wings. But for ages, I was like one fighter at a time. We'd have one fighter in camp, like 2 or 3 guys to help him for that first couple of years.
Yeah. So I think that's a common problem with like proper. I know a lot of proper MMA gyms that struggle with the gi, like, and don't have the attendance in the gi that they do in the no gi. It's just the way it is. We persevere with the gi. Only because for me, I'm selfish. I like to roll with the gi. But no, we do get decent enough attendance now. But in the beginning, it was like, it was markedly different. That's for sure.
Now I've got a second space. We're going to mat next door now instead of just having it at the fitness room. I guess I can always look at maybe bring the gi in on the smaller side and run another class in the bigger side. We'll see how we go after this. I think the sports are so different now as well, from my opinion. I don't compete in the gi a lot. I've done a couple of comps and rolled in it a bit, but submission grappling is so far different to what you do in the gi now. They almost are like 2 different sports.
Yeah.
And I know that Craig, one of the things he said was like, you can be shit at both or good at one. He goes, you're just like, they're going in such different directions now that if you want to be real good in one, you kind of have to do one or the other.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's what makes MMA so hard is that it's not just like with jiu-jitsu, you're just learning jiu-jitsu. With boxing, you're just learning boxing. With Thai, you're just learning Thai. With MMA, you've got to learn all of those things, and wrestling. And so you never get really, I think with MMA, what's frustrating for a beginner is they don't feel like they're getting anywhere, because they're always doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's 100% why they just disappeared. Like, I haven't learned anything. It's like, well, you just don't understand what you're actually doing yet.
Yeah, because the key for MMA is tying it all together. That's where the real secret lies, is those transitions between the arts.
And that probably affects the retention rate that gyms do have, because of the amount of time people are actually having to commit every single week. You can burn out very quickly, you know. For a young kid in his early 20s who hasn't fully discovered life yet, you know, doesn't have commitments in terms of a family and payments that have to be made and jobs that have to be completed to, you know, to make payments, they probably can spend 4 or 5 nights a week in the gym and then a Saturday afternoon. But after 2 or 3 years of that, you know, it probably starts getting in the way of their life a little bit, and probably outside pressures, girlfriends, partners, commitments, mean that they have to pull back from spending that amount of time in the gym. And especially with some of the kids that are coming through now, if you're not spending 4 or 5 nights a week in the gym learning specifically what you want to do, whether it be gi, no gi, or MMA, you are going to get left behind, because there is people out there. There's a small percentage of people at the very top, or that are going to get to the very top, that are putting ridiculous hours in. You know?
The kids these days are the ones that scare me.
Yeah. I mean,
There's so many good teenagers and adults that are just killing it because they just know everything from the get-go. They've learned from everyone else's mistakes, and they're just learning MMA as a whole. They're the ones that scare me. Like, they're the ones I won't be getting in the cage with.
Yeah, definitely.
There's definitely so much resources that they can actually learn from outside of the gym as well. I mean, they might be putting 20 hours a week in the gym, but they're maybe sitting watching YouTube and Fight Pass, watching fights and grappling matches for another 20 or 30 hours that week as well, you know. And definitely it's a changed day from even 5 or 6 years ago.
I think also with the MMA stuff, it's the damage you take as well. Like, a lot of people need to go to work the next day. You can't go to work with like scrapes all over your face and, you know, black eyes and, you know, I think there's a lot more chance of getting some visible damage in MMA than there is in the other arts. I mean, there's a chance in all of them, but yeah, people don't want to rock up in their suit the next day to a meeting and have this black eye or this scratch or this mark. So I think there's a lot of that too.
MMA is like the gloves are the most unrelentless, unforgiving things ever. You do a whole round, you feel like you don't even get touched. You look in the mirror and you've just got this massive black eye and you're like, nothing even touched me, and it's just from like the tiniest little corner of the gloves. You can spar in 16 ounces, go hard, nothing, get belted, oh good, then just the tiny little corner of MMA glove hits your eye and you're going to have the deepest black eye for a week. So I think what you said is definitely a true thing.
Yeah.
It's
funny. I started teaching a Krav Maga class, but I refuse. Like, me in self-defense, like I don't really believe in self-defense classes because a lot of it's watered down again. So, but I think watering down MMA is one thing. You're not going to win a fight maybe in a cage, but watering down self-defense is giving people false hope in a street confrontation, which is where things can go upside down really quickly and you can get severely fucking hurt. So I started this Krav Maga class and I had 20 people in it. After 3 weeks, there's just me and one other guy left in the class because I just refused to make it. Like, we would wear groin guards, but we would be allowed to kick each other in the nuts. And,
no, thank you.
So I just took it. I just got rid of it. I was like, no, I can't water it down because I don't want people to think that they can then go off and do this and they're going to be okay. Like, it didn't sit well with me. So I think that there's also that as well. If you want to stay true to an art like MMA, you're going to lose people because it has to be brutal hard. There's no other way.
You have to grind. MMA is a sport where you have to grind. It's not pretty. There's nothing like enjoyable about it. If you want to be an MMA fighter, you have to learn just to grind and embrace bad positions and hard training, really.
Yeah, definitely. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's no other sport where that's true.
Yeah.
It's like being a promoter, really. It's got to get used to the grind.
I'd still rather be a fighter promoter
and being in bad positions constantly.
Well, maybe that's just us, mate. Who knows? Maybe other people do it differently.
Maybe that's
we like the pressure.
Maybe that's because we refuse to water it down.
Yeah, maybe.
Have to keep putting on the big cards.
Yeah,
that's it. But it's like an addiction, like Cam described it in a podcast we did the other week. It is like an addiction, and when you have a great card with good fights from top to bottom, there's no feeling like it. Like when there's a shit fight on a card, it kind of tarnishes the thing, you know.
That the Melbourne card you guys put on was probably the best fucking Aussie MMA card I reckon I've ever seen. That was a solid card from top to bottom.
Yeah, no one in Melbourne wanted to watch it.
It fucking blows my mind. That was nuts.
Yeah, I mean, we still did all right on tickets because we had the UFC crowd there for the biggest ever UFC. So there were MMA fans around and people from out of state that wouldn't normally have been there. But, you know, a lot of the feedback we got from the Melbourne gyms was our guys didn't want to come and watch it because our fighters weren't on it.
Yeah, that's crazy because that was such a good card. And the fights were like all the good fights lived up to the hype.
Well, that's the one card. I mean, we always, the top end of the cards in every single event, we always match the best fights that we can. You know, there's all we want is the most exciting, best fight we can possibly put together. But obviously at the bottom end of these cards that we've got, the numbered cards all around about Australia, that there's a fair amount of unknown with the inexperience of some of the fighters that we're putting on at the bottom end of the cards, just to get them, basically to get them started and get them up and running. But that Melbourne card, the full card, we had the free rein to put together every single fight that we wanted to see, that we thought would be exciting with the people that we wanted on that card. I mean, for example, we're opening up that event with a multiple-time world Muay Thai champion in Mini T, you know, as the first fight on that card.
Yeah.
And the quality right through the full card after that, of the 8 fights, never dropped once. You know, it was all the best people we could get in the weight classes that we could put on that card at that time. And as Ben says, you know, a lot of people will only go to events to support friends, family, or teammates. But that was definitely a card that was for people who understood Australian MMA and some of the fighters that we had involved.
That was one of the best cards. The fight, who was it? Mitch Martin fight on that, Ben?
Ben Watson.
That was one of the most craziest back and forth fights. Yeah, I think that fight and Shannon Ross versus Paul Hoger are 2 of the best eternal title fights I think I've ever seen. Both those fights are absolute fire.
Yeah. Jack Jenkins and Diego Pereira on 52, another cracker of a title fight.
That was a good scrap too.
Yeah.
It's that featherweight division and those lighter weights, you know, when you get the top levels in those lighter weight divisions, the skill level on display is always phenomenal.
Yeah. And the pace, it just doesn't stop. Yeah. So you guys are doing 5-round title fights now. Is that because you're on Fight Pass or?
Yes.
Yeah. We had a chat at the start of this year and thought, why are we not doing it and why would we want to do it? And we sort of just weighed up the options and it did sort of move in line with what Fight Pass were after. So that did have a bit to do with it, yeah.
Yeah, because I only just noticed, I was watching and I can't remember which fight it was. I'm like, oh, he's won that. And then they came out for round 4 and I'm like, oh, no, he hasn't. He's got another couple of rounds to go.
That would have been Jack Jenkins, the only guy that's gone to the 4th round.
I reckon that was it. And I was like, hold on a second.
And so many other people around about Australia were already doing the 5-round title fights that, you know, no matter what our previous thoughts about the people at the top end of the card and what we wanted them to perform like and for how long, we decided it was time to go back and revisit it at the end of last year. And there was just far too many pluses for us not to go up to the 5 rounds. I mean, it also helps the fighters as well. I mean, these guys that we've got fighting for titles on Eternal, now we feel as if they are at a level where they can move forward. So the extra ring time and the commitment that they're putting into their training camps, we think would definitely allow us to have exciting 5-round fights. I mean, the last thing that we ever wanted to do was have a 5-round fight just for the sake of having a 5-round fight. And for the 2 people not to prepare properly for the 4th and 5th round, and for it to come out and be pretty pedestrian pace for the last 2 rounds that nobody's benefited from. So, you know, I think the timing was right for it. So, yeah, it's good. Good addition.
Yeah.
And what about you guys went to New Zealand? Obviously, was that last year or this year?
That was the beginning of this year.
Feels like forever ago now, being in isolation.
I know.
How was that then? You've done New Zealand, Melbourne. Is there any other shows coming up when you can do them again?
Look, we're open to go anywhere. You know, that's the beauty of our model is we travel around. Like, it's a traveling circus in more ways than one. But at the moment, and especially given what's happened this year, it's going to be about sticking to what we know and making the best, because we're going to have to run shows in quick succession to get in what we need to get in for the rest of the year, if it's even possible to do it. So we'll be sticking on familiar ground for the rest of the year.
We will do
Perth and Queensland will probably be the two go-tos.
Perth, Queensland and Melbourne. We feel like Melbourne is a good spot for us. We've got a good network down there. We've got a lot of people that we can work with, and there's a talent-rich pool down there to
got a lot of depth.
So
gyms down there,
and it's the sporting capital of Australia, right? I'm saying that not as an Australian, so I don't know if I'm saying something wrong, but I think that was the impression I get anyway, is that Melbourne is the home of sport.
They say.
Yeah, that's what they say. So there's people. You can run an event there at any night of the week, really, and people will, they're used to turning out to sporting events. Is I guess my point. Yeah,
as Ben says, we're going to double down in Perth, Gold Coast, and Melbourne for a number of pro-am events. But we'll obviously, with our connection that we had previously spoke about and posted on social media with the fitness show, we'll definitely be having an amateur Grand Prix in Sydney as well. But that's not going to be one of our numbered shows. That's going to be similar to the DS model. And there's a couple of little differences that we're going to run throughout that tournament so that we can have the Grand Prix done over 2 days. But other than that, it'll just be Perth, Melbourne, and Gold Coast.
Yeah, nice. So that'll be part of like a big fitness show thing. I think I did talk to you about. I think you did mention that once before. I remember that.
Yeah, so we're going to do put an amateur Grand Prix on in Sydney at the fitness show. It was supposed to be in May, but obviously with all this stuff, it's been shifted to the end of September now.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do that there, and there's another one in Melbourne as well in October. So we'll be looking at doing two shows on the fitness show there for amateurs.
Yeah.
And that'll be really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. It's a 2-day format. We're going to run some education, so some seminars and stuff like that as well. So we've basically got this area for 2 days of a mat space and a cage space. And we're going to look to do some interesting stuff across the 4 days. So the 2 days in Sydney and the 2 days in Melbourne.
We're able to give really good brand, as well as bringing live MMA in front of a huge sports audience that are, browsing different product stands and different sports at the fitness show. So I think for the industry as a whole, I think it's going to be a very positive thing.
Yeah, it'll be good for local gym owners. Like, people might go, "Oh, how do I get into that?" And it might push people towards local MMA gyms as well. So we're hoping to sort of give it a boost in the public eye too.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good. Hopefully they open up the borders before then. I can send some fighters over.
Yeah, we're hoping by then that we can go, because if we can't go, then there's trouble.
Surely they'll open up South Australia and WA soon. We're both doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. And Northern Territory, which is what basically shields our half of the country from the other half, is okay too. So hopefully, there can be some movement there before maybe we reconnect with the East Coast again.
Yeah.
They're done. Sorry, Cam, you guys are done over on the East Coast.
You just chop the island in half.
Yeah, we're dividing the country.
Push them away.
We've got the combat sports hopes of Australia on our back for that long that I'm pretty sure if you cut us off from the rest of you mob, that we'll manage to do it again.
We still won't catch up.
It's actually there's been a trend that we identified quite recently as well, as that for the first time ever we don't have any Queensland-based champions on Eternal. Yeah. I think that's quite a significant change in trend. We've got 2 Victorians holding titles, Western Australia holding titles as well. But for a brand that was predominantly Queensland-based to start with, and the way that Queensland fighters have and the number of Queensland fighters that there has been in the MMA circuit, that it shows an interesting trend throughout the rest of the country that everyone else is catching up a little bit as well.
There you go. WA has the most, I think, with 3.
Possible. Definitely the most dominant one in Mitch Martin.
Yeah, he's a beast, and he's always enjoyable to watch. It looks like he likes making it hard for himself and hard to coach for a bit. He'll give you stress when you're in his corner for sure.
He's just got this air about him that I don't really worry too much about him. He's just I don't know. He's just so tough, man. And I know it's a tough sport and everyone in the sport's tough, but he seems to like use that as a weapon.
Just thrives being in bad scenarios. He always comes back stronger.
You can tire yourself out beating the shit out of him, but he's still going to be there at the end. So if you don't finish him, he's probably going to be in a better position to finish you towards the end of the fight.
I think I've only seen him fight maybe 3 times, and every time it's been an absolute war and well worth watching.
He had one quick one with, 2. One of his first internal fights against Ryan Robertson ended pretty quickly, and then Kyron Moses, he subbed Kyron Moses at the end of the first round. Other than that, they've been 3 rounds. Huh?
That was an Adelaide fight. That was in Adelaide.
No, I was in the HBF. It was the first fight in the HBF Stadium. He fought Jason Petropoulos.
The Adelaide fight, which was another fight that was a long draw.
That was a good fight too.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight.
Yeah, Mitch is a funny one. He doesn't even like MMA.
I mean, he's got some skills.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
after the Melbourne card, Eternal 48, we're obviously all going to head over to Marvel Stadium for the UFC the next day. And when we were all getting ready to leave, I seen Mitch pulling on his jacket, and I mentioned to him about coming to UFC. Are you coming? And he said, "No, I don't even like this." Is his exact words. "No, I'm not coming. I don't even like the sport." He was going to look at a lighting display in Melbourne rather than come to UFC.
That's crazy. With someone with so much talent, you'd think he would froth off it.
Yeah, he doesn't at all. I
think he said he'd never watched the sport. Yeah.
No, he wouldn't know who anyone was. Like he's watched his own fights and his mates' fights, and that's it.
It's probably almost a good thing that you don't see guys like Anthony Smith getting their teeth knocked out on the weekend. It's probably a lot more enjoyable. You don't go into fights thinking, "Fuck, man, what happened to that guy?"
Yeah, it's definitely. There's pros and cons, I'd say, but he's a strange cat. All right, Cam, do you want to do the questions? I can't get my questions up.
Oh, we could do the questions. Just give me 2 seconds to bring them up in my phone because I didn't have them prepared.
Oh, mate, come on. You got to be prepared at all times.
Yeah.
I thought I taught you that. Have I taught you nothing in this, however long we've been doing this for now?
I'm a slow learner. We do have a 10 or 11 question series that we've been asking everyone. We had tried to do some UFC picks with Callan last week, but I think the timing of releasing the podcast to record it isn't going to work well, so we're going to skip that and just go back to the 10 questions.
I'll let you do it because I haven't got my phone, so I can't read them. So you'll just have to reel them off. Quick time. I'll do the timer. You've got a minute to answer as many of these questions as you can.
Fuck, I'm slow. I'm a slow listener.
Okay.
There's only two options. One word answer. That's it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Or rugby?
AFL.
Tits or ass?
Ass.
Blonde or brunette?
What's that?
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
KO or submission?
Submission.
Steak or salad?
Steak. Solid.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Restaurant or pub?
Restaurant.
5-round war or 5-second KO?
Fuck, 5-second KO. I'm too old for wars.
Cardio or weights?
Cardio.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
Holden or Ford?
Fucking both. Neither.
You're not proper Aussie if you say that, mate.
Neither of them are made in Australia anymore anyway.
But that's us. We've rattled through it.
All right, perfect. So just before you go, Myles, do you want to, anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, anyone you want to shout out to? Or?
No, not really any sponsors. I haven't really done much for the last few years. I guess Auckland Warfare has still been looking after me a little bit.
I think you should be going for a Bic or a Manscaped sponsor.
Who's got a moustache comb? I'm nearly at the point now where I can twist the ends. That's my goal.
There you go.
My isolation goal is to be able to twist it. So by the time you see me next time, these are going to be out here.
Uncle Creepy style.
Yeah, why not? Just thanks to everyone from my gym that supported me through this time. I've had a lot of members that have reached out and helped me and kept their membership fees on and whatnot to help the gym survive. So we have a gym to go back to and train. Apart from that, just thanks to anyone that's ever watched me fight and enjoyed it. And you may see me in the cage again in the not too distant future. Have you got a veterans league I can join? Am I old enough for that yet?
Yeah, you're the same weight as Cam now, so you two can fight.
I think I can only fight people over the age of 30 at least now. I'm not fighting it young guys.
Category. I just demand
under 40. Under 30 and under 40 is my demographic at the moment for an opponent.
Well, you can't fight either of us then.
Surely there's someone out there that's in the same boat as me.
There'll be someone out there. We'll sort it out, mate. When you're ready, we'll find the right person for you. Don't worry about that.
Done and done. Sign me up.
Yeah, there you go. All right, perfect. Mate, thanks a lot for your time. I mean, obviously, I know there's not too much going on at the moment, but we do appreciate you taking time away from your family to have a little chat with us. I must return to mine. I've just got home from the gym and come straight up and set up a podcast. So I'm in the doghouse per usual. So I'm going to go and get involved.
Go on the shorts and go for a jump in the pool, then maybe order a pizza.
All right, on that note, let's end it there.
Thanks, guys.
All right, cheers, boys.
See you later.